guys, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm doing something different. Um, so I recently received this book as part of a Goodreads giveaway, and it just reminded me of spring so much that it made me start thinking about what other books I have on my shelf that are very spring-like, or at least their covers are. So not all these books happen in spring, but just like looking at them makes me think of being outside in warmer weather, in rain, and things coming back to life. So, this is Start at the Beginning by Julie Mollen Walters, and this is a book about two women, one of who is pregnant when they first meet, and the other one is infertile, and they become friends. Apparently, something happens, and there's like this secret, and then they drift apart, and then one of them goes looking for the other one later in life. I haven't actually read this book, so it sounds intriguing. But this cover with the umbrella in the rain, definitely reminds me of when it starts raining in spring, which I totally love, especially after months of snow. So the next book I have is How Perfect Is That by Sarah Bird. And I love the pastel colors. It looks like it's warm outside. A very spring-like dress. I love finally getting to wear dresses when it's spring. It's finally warm enough. So this one reminded me also. I haven't actually read this book. I mostly just bought this one for the cover. Again, I sometimes do that. Especially if I get them at like library sales where it's super cheap. I will just be like, pretty cover, and grab it. But this is about a woman, Blythe, who ends up trying to pass it off as if she's more well off than she is, and ends up with trouble in the IRS, and then she's on the run. But mostly it's just pretty. And I apparently need to read this book because I didn't even know that till I read the back. The next book I have is Nicola and the Viscount by Cabot. I really haven't read this in a while. This is about a 16-year-old orphan who is in London society. Yeah, and gets encountered with a Viscount. Anyway, I love this one. It's a very historical book. It reminds me very much of like Jane Austen novels, but it's by Cabot. I love this one. The other one is Victoria and the Rogue, which I love that she did like this, the historical stuff. Anyway, I love the dress in here. It looks very spring-like. She's got a parasol. The colors are very pastelish, and I also really just like the cartoon style of the cover. The next is Lysistrata by Aristophanes, which is a play. I think the men go off to war, or they want to start a war or something, and the women kind of group together and decide they're going to refuse the men sex until they get over their obsession with war, come to their senses. So this play is hilarious. But for this one, I just picked it mostly for the lavender colors. We have the sunset, and the Greek dresses are so pretty. More pretty dresses. Then I have The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. This is one of the Chronicles of Narnia books. This actually isn't one of my favorites in this area. It's kind of boring. I thought it was kind of boring. The cover is gorgeous for this edition, with the like water going on out here, which reminds me so much of spring because at least here in the north around Cleveland, it's too cold in the winter and fall to go towards the lake much until it really warms up because it's always colder by the water. So like being able to even be down there is a sign that it's spring. And more of the pastel colors. And it's just really pretty, guys. I want to show it off. And then I have The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, which for some reason I was thinking of this book happening in the summer, but the whole cover with them painting the fence in the scene, it just totally reminds me of like, it's finally warm enough to go outside and work on household things, like, doing the deck or finally getting to garden or something. Like, it's finally warm enough to do that. And then more of the pastels, which I love. This book is about Tom Sawyer and his buddy Huck Finn and how much trouble they get into. And I remember reading it as a kid and just like thought it was the most amazing book in the world. Then I have Oz, the Complete Collection, Volume 1. These are the first 3 Wizard of Oz books by L. Frank Baum, which are The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, The Marvelous Land of Oz, and Ozma of Oz. And I really love the hot air balloon in this cover. I don't know why that reminds me of spring, since I have never been in a hot air balloon ever. But just like the flying, I guess, or the rainbow colors, or maybe it's just the palette used on here. A lot of outdoorness. Could also be a summer cover, I guess. I love it. I want to show off my Wizard of Oz book, okay? The next book I have is The Housekeeper. The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa, which I may have just mispronounced. But I love the cherry blossom on here, not gonna lie. Got this book mostly because of that tree. It's so pretty. And it's definitely a tree that only blooms in the spring, especially here in Cleveland. So this book is about a math professor who, I think he has an accident or something, but he has problems with long-term memory. So he has a housekeeper come and help take care of him and how their relationship develops. And this is another book that I haven't read yet, but bought because the cover was pretty. And then I have Marvel Fairy Tales, primarily written by C.B. Cebulski. These are, this is a graphic novel, and it has fairy tales featuring Marvel characters like Captain America and Iron Man, and they are, I'll just read the back. In Avengers Fairy Tales, see Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and the rest of the Avengers as you've never seen them before, as the critically acclaimed line of Marvel Fairy Tales continues with all new interpretations of Peter Pan, Pinocchio, Alice in Wonderland, and The Wizard of Oz. And there's also a comic from Spider-Man Fairy Tales and X-Men Fairy Tales. So I just really like this whole, like, fairies seem to be more plausible in the spring. You've got, like, the flowers going on here. Plus I wanted to show off some of my graphic novels. This is one I haven't read yet because I tried reading it, and I think the very first comic, it's like the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver or something. It was people I didn't know at the time, so I kind of just was like, I should read other comics first and get to know those characters. And the last book I have is Rainbow's End by Irene Hannon, and I really love the rainbow in this one, as well as the flowers, and just the field looks like spring. But in this book, the main character, Keith, his wife dies, and so he moves and tries to start his life over. Also haven't read this book. You know what? Out of these 10 books, I have read... Actually, I read 5 of them. Not bad. I read the middle 5. I have read this. Victoria. I've actually read Nicola and the Viscount, Lysistrata, The Horse and His Boy, Tom Sawyer, and the first 2 Wizard of Oz books. So I've read like half of these anyway. But these are the book covers I have that like most remind me of spring, regardless of whether or not these books happen in the spring. Just what they look like. So I want to know if you guys have any books that particularly remind you of spring. Or if you think, if you've read any of these, let me know, especially this chunk that I haven't read yet. Feel free to let me know what they're like. So, yeah, I just felt like doing something different and fun. So, anyway, peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye!